What are you scared of? I'm afraid of a nuclear war, earthquakes, and some kid crashing into me while I'm taking a walk at night. So I stay updated on news. I keep an earthquake safety bag ready and I walk with full awareness. That's how I defeat fear, by finding a solution. But recently I have a new fear and I don't know what the solution is. I am scared, quite scared, in fact, that the doctor advising me in a YouTube video, telling me to take a certain medicine or adopt a certain lifestyle, I'm scared that he is fake. This is Sonali Acharji, and you are listening to Health Wealth, a podcast that brings together scientific truth and simple solutions so that you can look after yourself without being misled or feeling overwhelmed. Last month, there was a video of a very famous cardiologist, Dr. Naresh Trehan, and it started circulating and going viral on social media. The video showed Dr. Trehan advising people to take a certain kind of medicine. Now, I can only imagine someone who actually followed that guidance, how they would have felt when they came to know that that video was fake. Medical misinformation is a real threat to our health and well being. In the Journal of Medical Internet Research in 2021, there was a systematic review done of about 69 studies that looked into the prevalence of social media misinformation. And it found social media posts where there was medical inaccuracy or medical untruths put up were as high as 87% on some platforms. It's become so easy to replicate the faces of people, put out logos of organizations just to give things an appearance of validity and authenticity. I myself once received a WhatsApp forward that had the logo of the World Health Organization morphed onto it. And it was an advisory on how to have healthy workplace relationships. Now, I knew there was no way a circular from this body was going to have 5 or 6 grammatical errors. And I also knew that the WHO doesn't really work to give you guidance on how to appease your ego and maintain your humility. So I could tell it was fake. But then there have been times when I have been fooled as well. I often get calls as a health journalist from people pretending to be doctors, and I have to insist upon their credentials. Only then do I come to know that they've never even studied medicine. So, is hypervigilance of this kind the only answer to this emerging world where everybody feels they're qualified to be a dispense medical advice? And how do I know if my doctor online is real or a deep fake? To help us navigate all these challenges, I have with me today Dr. Sudipta Sengupta, who is the founder and CEO of what I think is a very relevant and much needed organization, the Healthy Indian Project. They are currently a part of the WHO's vaccine safety net, which helps to give people accurate and verified vaccine safety information. And I think this is the need of the hour. Hello. Thank you so much for coming today. Thank you.
Hey, Sonali, thank you for having me.
I confessed my own fears and experiences with deepfakes. Now it's your turn. Have you ever been misled by internet medical misinformation?
A lot of times, probably knowingly, unknowingly. I mean, who hasn't believed a fake information on the internet at least once in their life? My family, my friends, me. When I look around, I see a lot of us who have been victim of online information or online misinformation. Some of us realize, some of us don't, unless it is something as serious as it has gone to the extent of hurting your health or you falling prey to a financial scam, losing money. We usually take it in our stride and say, hey, no big deal.
Mhm.
But then it does come back again and again in all our lives.
Yeah. No, it's interesting you use the words victim and prey because for me, I do feel like a victim every time I go online and I'm reading some sort of advice, eat this for your gut or eat that for your brain, or or the more dangerous types, which is when it comes to vaccine safety. There's so many people who genuinely believe that the COVID-19 vaccines are the reason, we're having gut issues and cancer and heart attacks today. Um, and so coming to your organization, which is working on that one very relevant sphere, what is this Healthy Indian project, and what does it do?
So we are primarily a health literacy platform. We
Mm-hmm,
have a media site, which is THIP Media,
mm-hmm,
which majorly is a health information and fact-checking platform. So we are signatory of the International Fact-Checking Network. We are the first Indian website to be certified by AACI, and we are also a partner to WHO for their vaccine safety net, like you already mentioned. What we majorly focus on is building credible health information because we feel in the Indian ecosystem, there's a dearth of it, especially if you go into the regional languages. There aren't many options for people to find out credible health information. And what we also do is fact check health misinformation, which is, I mean, one cannot stand without the other. Because when we started creating credible health information, we realized a lot of information which already exists out there needs to be fact checked first. So that's primarily what we do. Apart from that, we also have a WhatsApp chat bot called Raksha, where people can ask questions about their health or send across information wanting to know if it is true. Our team fact checks those misinformation and let them know the truth. We are shortly launching a premium content portal, which is THIP Academy, which is a step ahead to THIP Media, where we
mm-hmm.
intend to talk more about health, but targeted towards specific health condition or a treatment.
At one time I was having this argument just a couple of weeks ago with my mother, and I said, that thing you're reading, it's fake. And she said, why would someone, take that kind of time out to create something fake? I mean, it looks so authentic, you're paranoid. I mean, she didn't say you were paranoid in those many words, but that's sort of what was implied. So I just wanted to know that one of the reasons that people actually believe a lot of things out there is because they can't imagine why would someone spend that much time in making a deep fake or in, photoshopping false logos. Do we have an answer to that? Why would someone do this?
I mean, internally, because we have been working in the fact-checking domain now for
Mm,
past 4 years approximately, we have categorized these fake news creators into six different buckets. Now, before I talk about it, let me clarify one thing. When it comes to health misinformation per se, uh, the motivation with which it is created or shared is very, very different from how a political misinformation or a social misinformation might be created. Because in case of health misinformation, especially in the Indian context, uh, it's done with certain amount of gullibility, and it's also consumed with certain amount of
mm,
gullibility. Like you
mm.
said about your mother, same
Yeah.
is the case in my family. I mean, the only thing that I probably have achieved so far is making the elderly folks refrain from sharing things.
Mm,
But I really, really doubt whether I have made taken it to an extent where they don't believe it. They don't share it anymore because they understand that if they share it, somebody may point out that it is a fake. It may lead to an embarrassing situation, but they still will consume it nevertheless. Now, coming back to the six different reasons I was talking
mm,
about, the first reason is very simple. It's I love to share stuff. I mean, it's a mean of staying in touch with your family or whoever is in the WhatsApp group. Now, these type of people have very low credibility. They have low digital literacy. They many a times they even share without reading it. The second syndrome that we see is I thought it was true. Now this is very dangerous, and this is a step up from I love to share, where people genuinely wants to help people. We have seen a lot of this happen during COVID. We
Yeah, a
still
lot.
see a lot of this happen even in our daily life. This has worked for me. This will work for you. These people are very persistent. Why don't you use this? Why don't you have this medicine? Because they care for you. Hence, they are constantly pushing things which are not scientifically valid, but they think it is true. The third step is extension of that a little more. It has worked for me. So if something has worked for me, it will work for my family, it will work for my friends, it will work for everybody around me. That's the thought process. And these people are so convinced that it's very difficult to educate them. They again have low to medium health literacy. Understand, they are not zero on health literacy.
Mm.
They are medium health literacy. Many of them understand anatomy, physiology. Many of them even understand the disease or the health condition that they have gone through. But they fail to understand that every human body is different. Also, a lot of them are looking for bragging rights. So they will go ahead and kind of prescribe medicine to
Yeah.
others. The next step that we see is I have always known this syndrome. So this is the cultural and medicinal bias that I mean, this is exactly why we will fall easily for anything that is tagged with Ayurveda. So people will tell you, hey, you should not drink water while you are standing. You will say, oh, right, I have always known this. Uh, these are basically all the things that your grandmother or mother has
Yeah.
told you. And
Mm.
without knowing, you have started believing them so much that today you are constantly opposing to the evidence that is coming out. The next one is, which probably has no solution at all, is the belief that big pharma's lie.
Mm.
I mean, I
It does.
won't
Yeah.
go into the conspiracy theory, whether it is true, false, because
Mm.
there are debates on both sides of it.
Yeah.
But you cannot fight a conspiracy theory. That's the biggest problem. It's
Mm.
very, very difficult to educate these people who will start the discussion with, I don't trust because big pharma's lie. I don't trust because all doctors are money minded.
Yeah.
I don't trust because Ayurveda has kind of is is against doctors. That's not the
Mm.
case most of the time. And the last one is I thought it will get me viewership. Trust me, the saddest story of all this. I
Yeah.
mean, because I am generating a fake knowingly, or I am just twisting it because I will get a lot of viewership on my
Mm.
social media reels, on the videos I make, because I know that if I talk the plain vanilla stuff, people won't be listening to it. There are thousands of people who have already talked about it. So I tweak it a bit without
Yeah.
caring about the impact that it may have. So these are the various reasons why people will go into creating a health misinformation. Many of them understand that it's misinformation that they are creating. Many of them don't even understand the funny part. I mean,
Yeah.
they just do it in a jest.
Yeah, and it's also fairly easy now to pick up a logo and just put it onto a circular that you've written. What are some of the tools that you're coming across that people are using to modify information or to create deep fakes?
So now I tell you what, it had
Mm.
always been easy. I mean, so when at the start, when computer came in, people will use something like Paint, Microsoft Paint. I mean, the creative probably got much better when you had Photoshop, right? It
Yeah.
probably got much more better now that you have AI tools like
Mm.
ChatGPT's DALL-E or Midjourney or whatever. So you can actually don't have to work. You just narrate your imagination and it creates something like that. When it comes to deepfake videos, I mean, once again, deepfake videos are not getting created today because there are tools available. I mean, people anybody who had the intent could have easily created such kind of videos. Probably not so easily. It has become much more easy today,
Mm,
but it's about the intent. So tools were always there. I mean, now the newer tools are making it very, very easy for people to create video content in the misinformation genre. But when it comes to textual content or image content, people had always used whatever they could find, be it Microsoft Paint or Photoshop or whatever tools that they could find to write down a few lines, paste a logo, and float it around. And with so
yeah.
many gullible people around in the internet, so many people suffering from various health conditions who are
Mm,
looking for respite, I mean, people will consume even without looking at the nuances of that creative. So, for example, if there's a deep fake video of, say, a doctor, a heart doctor selling a ortho oil, right? Very few people will actually sit down and look for signs of fake. I mean, whether the lip sync is matching, whether the doctor is wearing one shirt in one shot and another shirt in another
mm,
shot. People won't look at that. People will just consume the content because they in deep in their heart they are actually wanting to believe this. They are thinking there is a magic pill somewhere which will make it so easy
yeah.
for them to get cured.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it's tools basically. It's intent of both sides. Intent of one side to push, instead of another side very eager to consume.
Yeah. Because, I always say this that of all the things you lose in your life, when you lose your health, um, it's overwhelming, it's terrifying, and you just want an answer as soon as possible. And um, the way our modern healthcare system is, it's also difficult to find doctors,
Hmm.
particularly related to a certain condition that you have. I'm saying this as a health journalist. I mean, I have doctors on speed dial, but even if there's somebody in my family who had a liver problem recently, I do struggle to find the right doctor for it. um, it is easier to just go online and ask Google or any search engine what to do with these other symptoms, and then you can find the medicine. And for smaller things like I was researching sleep recently, and that really shocked me that there's so many issues with sleep in this country, and everyone's going onto a search engine finding melatonin, understanding what melatonin is. So I guess this is your um, middle range health literate person. They're able to understand the impact of melatonin. It's an over the counter medicine, and they're going and they're happily popping melatonin pills in. And if you ask a sleep doctor, is that bad? They're like, yes, that's bad. You've no idea why are you messing up your body clock. So there is a desperate need to find quick solutions, isn't there?
Yeah, of course. I mean, so I remember a couple of years ago, around 2019 or
Mm,
2020, pre-COVID,
mm,
Google released a report which said that every minute there are 70,000 searches related to health on their platform. So 70,000 every minute. Another statistics that came out not very long ago again is 5% of all the searches that happens. Now 5% may sound like a small amount. It's not. Of all
mm,
the searches that happens on Google is related to health.
mm,
So people are constantly trying to find solutions, answers to their health questions. And you rightly mentioned, I mean, the access to doctors. Yes, I
yeah.
mean, the access to doctors is low. And imagine you, me, we are privileged to stay in an urban
Mm,
setup where we can still walk into a hospital, where we will
mm,
think a little differently, thinking that, okay, so if I walk into a hospital, I will talk to a doctor. Maybe this is not a big case enough for me to actually go to the hospital and
mm,
spend the amount of money, which in fact is not small, amount of money, right? We still think a step ahead where we are thinking about going to the hospital, spending the money, whether the issue is big enough or not, go to the semi-urban area or the rural area. area, they will not go to the doctor. They
Mm-hmm.
they will have a pharmacist or the WhatsApp uncles around them or the neighbors who will give them solution. And this is a place where quacks work. The quack will come in as somebody who knows everything, and he will have solution for everything.
Mm-hmm.
This is a place where medicine takes a back seat and herbal cure takes the front seat.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not only about access to doctors. Yes, that's a very big part of it, but it's also about our habit of going to a doctor, because a lot of us who can go to a doctor won't go to a doctor because we think
That's
it's
true.
not big enough.
Mm.
And then there are a lot of them who actually do not have any access to doctors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so tell me about solutions now, assuming that the internet is the most convenient, most accessible medium for clearing your doubts about health. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon because just given the reach of the internet today, if we are going to rely on it, how do we know what is fake and what is not?
See, I mean, it's anyway not easy, especially when it comes to health fake. I mean,
Mm,
you cannot expect an average person to go into a medical research and do a fact checking and then trust on a particular information. People actually consume on the go.
mhm,
And it's going to get even more difficult with
mhm,
the deep fakes coming in, with videos popping in every hour about
mhm,
a doctor saying something. There are a couple of things that will work and can work is we need a very strong policy around AI generated content, which I'm sure will come in the months to. I mean, it's already been discussed at various levels in all the countries. So we need some kind of watermarking on the AI generated content. That
mhm,
has to be there. The second is we need to do a large scale media literacy and health literacy campaigns. I mean, imagine our plight when we actually had to spend crores and have celebrities teaching the entire nation on how to wash hands during COVID. This should this is something that we all should know,
mhm,
but we were taught on how to wash hands. So I'm saying there needs to be some amount of budget, not only about health awareness, which is there,
mhm,
but also on health literacy, the overall educating a person about how to approach or how to
mhm.
consume health content. A lot of health media literacy campaigns are already being done by a lot of media houses at a ground level, but we need to do it at a much larger scale. The
Yeah.
third thing that I always advocate for is a health education at a school level. I mean, we really don't talk about health. And when I say health, I talk about everything. I mean, what is a good dad and what is a bad dad?
Mm,
So, I mean, when we were young, nobody actually in our school talked about good touch and bad touch. I mean, when my daughter started going to school and she came back one day and saying, "Hey, Dad, we taught about good touch and bad touch." I felt so nice about it. That is something people have started talking about. Similarly, good diet and bad diet. What is what is type 1 diet? So, I mean, for example, we have come across kids who do not see well. I mean, they need specs, right? They haven't shared it with their parents because they think it's nothing, or
mhm,
their parents might get angry because thinking that they are trying to dodge the studies. Uh, we need to educate them about that. There are students who have hidden symptoms at the initial level about type 1 diabetes. Once again, thinking that their parents might get angry. And when they shared, the parents also took a lot of time trying to figure out, oh, what's happening? I mean, so they also had no clue about how to approach that. So that health literacy needs to happen at multiple levels, starting from the school. That's something we constantly are advocating for.
Yeah, and actually, if you think about it, this current generation, Gen Alpha, which is less than 14 right now. I was recently talking to a pediatrician about health issues which are unique to this generation. And there were so many, these are from sleep to obesity to diabetes to eye problems to body image issues to eating disorders, to loneliness, to stress, to anxiety. There was a whole gamut of issues. Perhaps they were there, all preceding generations as well, but not in such a heightened, such an overt manner. So it does seem to be the need of the hour. And it's not just mental health, which is still somewhere. I think for children, mental health is gaining pace, but physical health is also so important. These symptoms of diabetes or symptoms of anything, of even a stomach upset, kids should realize that they need to go and tell their parents and not Google and find out what the answers is.
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
Mm,
this is what we discuss within the team also. I mean, we have become aware of a lot of health conditions today, but
mhm,
that's at a very, very superficial level. For
mm,
example, uh, even for mental health. I mean, what students at a very early age today are aware of, there's something called stress, there's something called depression,
mm,
but it's only the terminology that they know.
mhm,
What should they do after they realize that they are stressed? It's not
mm.
something we are educating them of.
Yeah.
What should you do if you really think you are depressed? Now, it's very difficult to make a child speak in a very clear language that is comprehensible to a doctor, right? So you really need those kind of counselors to come and talk to them. You're not investing there. That's something we feel.
Yeah. And tell me, in your work, in all these years that you've worked with fact checking, have you ever come across any cases where the consequences of what fake medical news has done, the consequences that might have really shocked you or stood out, or maybe something that a child has done because of fake news?
Multiple cases. I mean,
Could you share some of them? Like,
yeah. So this, I mean, we have a board of doctors, internal as well as external, who work with us to fact check. I mean, the basic philosophy that we follow is whenever we come across any piece of information, we say we don't know whether this is right or wrong. Let evidence guide it. And after the evidence guides it, then let's go to external experts who seek their opinion, because medical science is very, very tricky, where a doctor's opinion may vary from another doctor's opinion. So what we try to do is work with an external board of doctors. Now, every month we go to these doctors, try to find out how it's happening. So there's this one case where a doctor mentioned, and I tell you, this is in the heart of the capital city, where we will believe, and I'm talking about a really class A hospital, where we would believe the people who go in are very well educated because they can afford that kind of treatments, right?
mm,
So this lady comes in with stage one cancer. Uh, After a couple of days of treatments, one day the lady comes back and says, "Okay, so will this particular herbal treatment cure me?" The doctor writes it off, saying, "No, it won't." The lady, obviously, on the face of it, the doctor could make out was unhappy, but it was the doctor's job to tell her, right? The lady never came back. She came back a year later when it was really, really too late. And we keep on hearing these kind of stories every
yeah.
now and then. There's another side of it which we recently faced, and this is not due to misinformation, but this is due to lack of information. And I quote this example because people need to know how important it is. There's this young child who was studying in one of the very good school in Gurgaon, which is
Mm-hmm.
in the NCR region of our capital city.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, Around 13, 14 years, she's
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. She needs to take insulin thrice a day,
Mm-hmm.
out of which twice in the during the school hours.
Mm-hmm.
The school refuses to keep her because they don't have that kind of infrastructure where they can keep a type 1 diabetic child and a nurse who can administer the injection. So the doctor had to intervene, go in, train the nurse. Now, this student luckily belonged to a family where the parents could afford that kind of setup, where they take the doctor along, talk to the principal, arrange for a training session. What happens to the thousands of kids out there who are not so lucky? So the lack of information or the basic training is another thing that's killing us along with the misinformation.
Yeah. You know, recently a lot of doctors have also now started opening social media accounts, as a sort of to counter the misinformation out there. They do get trolled heavily for it, and they do have to face a significant amount of naysayers and hate mail. Does that ever happen to you, and how do you respond to it then?
Yeah, happens a lot to our individual fact checkers. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
people do not like to get uh, called for what they
Mm-hmm.
have posted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what they usually will do is find out the name of the author or the fact
Mm-hmm.
checker,
Mm-hmm.
find their personal social media IDs, and
Oh
go and
gosh.
abuse.
Okay.
And because we are a team of 80% females, so it
Mm-hmm.
at times takes a toll on their mental health. So once in a while, we will have kind of motivation sessions for
Mm-hmm.
them because
Mm-hmm.
mental health of fact checkers is another domain that we constantly need to focus on.
And why
When
is
you
that?
are
Because of trolling?
not only because of trolling, because the entire day you are going through loads and loads of information which you won't be able to fact check all of them, and but nearly all of them are false. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you're constantly going through videos, you're constantly going through images, and I'm talking about health misinformation. Imagine in
Yeah.
case of political or social misinformation,
Mm-hmm.
the goriness is even more. You're
Yeah.
constantly looking at content that is not so mental health
Mm-hmm.
friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one area. And second, once you fact check them, for example, you know, I mean, in India, sadly, we are made to believe we have a multidisciplinary medicinal system approved by the
Mm-hmm.
government, right? But we are made to believe that every medicinal field actually fights with the other. For
Mm-hmm.
example, if you believe in Ayurveda, you cannot believe in modern medicine.
Allopathy. Yes.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's not true. I mean, we have
Mm-hmm.
had doctors seated in the same table with a healthy discussion where they said one can work with the other. And most of
Mm-hmm.
the times, if you look at it, the philosophies may be different, but the treatment procedures are not very, very different. They
Mm-hmm.
can actually work together. But that's not what we are made to believe. Hence, when you call out a person saying that, hey, this is false, they will take you to be a supporter of the other medicinal. Uh, that's what is happening to a lot of doctors who are on the social media. So if you look at them, if they are from, say, allopathy and they are calling out a fake, they
Mm.
will be called anti-Ayurveda and by extension anti-India or anti-whatever, anti-nationalist.
Yeah.
Uh, that is where the problem is because we
Mm.
are made to believe that one is against the other, which is not
Mm-hmm.
the case. I
Yeah.
mean, an intelligent doctor will always know. It's just that the audience needs to understand, the citizens need to understand that evidence rules. Evidence is
Mm-hmm.
evidence. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, just because I'm passionate about a particular religion or a
Yeah.
culture or a medicinal field does
Mm-hmm.
not mean that I should overlook evidence.
Yeah. Tell me, have you ever had a request where you might have to defend or verify your fact checking process?
Yeah,
And how do
happen.
you do that?
So what we usually do is, like I said, I mean, the first thing that we look at, if we have a piece of information, we look at the evidence for or against, right? Then we go out to, so people who fact check with us are
Mm-hmm.
doctors. Then we go out to other doctors, which is the
Mm-hmm.
external board, seek their opinion. Even after that, there may be doctors out there who will say, listen, you have missed this particular piece of information.
Mm-hmm.
So we have and this is a guideline of the International Fact Checking Network. You need to have a feedback mechanism from your readers and a
Mm-hmm.
strong correction policy. So there are cases when a doctor has come back and says, what you have written is not wrong, but you have missed this particular perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So we will incorporate that and then put in an editorial note below saying uh, this has been added to this particular fact check and this correction has been made. Other than that, what happens? Not a lot, but at least during COVID, we faced a lot of such cases. Is in an evolving situation like COVID, the truth keeps on changing. Right? Today, you say that this is true because
Mm-hmm.
certain limited amount of research is available. Tomorrow, new research comes out. So you
Yeah.
have to go back and make changes in that content and give a disclaimer saying that this has happened. So yeah, we do have a strong correction policy in place,
Yeah.
and has to have that.
Yeah, no, no. The reason I was fact checking the fact checker is because, I think I wouldn't want someone to hear this and say, oh, that's fake. That, oh, he's just, how do I know what he's doing is accurate and verifiable just because he's saying so? So I think when you put your processes out there, that also inculcates a lot of faith and trust in, going to an app like Raksha, for example. When you're transparent enough, and one can understand the process, because I don't think anyone really wants to disbelieve fact checking,
Mm,
but knowing the process always helps, doesn't it?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you were mentioning the pandemic, the recent COVID-19 pandemic. Um, do you have any lessons that you learned from that? Because that was actually, as the WHO called it, an infodemic. You
Yeah.
must have been doing fact checking on steroids.
Yes, true. And at one point of time, there were so much to handle that we figured out we won't be able to do all of it, right? So one very important lesson that I won't say learned, but one philosophy that we have put into the team is pick up the most harmful one out there. So you may have news say lemon cure cancer,
Hmm.
right? This is not an imaginary one. This is one of the most popular fake news out there, which keeps
Okay.
coming back every year. Lemon cured cancer. And then
Right.
you have another one which says lemon is 1,000 times more effective than chemotherapy. As
Mm.
fact checkers, we will pick up the second one
Right.
because it may make somebody drop out of their chemotherapy treatment.
Mm. Hmm.
So, which is more harmful? So when we have a lots to do, we look at which is more harmful and pick that one up. So that
Yeah.
is lesson number one. Lesson
Mm.
number two is be ready. We actually have started creating a database or a repository of proactive fact checks. I mean, may not even be required to be fact checked because nobody has shared it, but we constantly deliberate on what is this, what is that, can somebody claim this? And we are trying to create a Q&A bank or a repository bank and doctors' quotes and opinions and a lot
Hmm.
of interviews, short bites, ready for, I won't say next pandemic, but the next misinformation.
Yeah.
So today by doing that, we have managed to reduce the time that we take to fact check a particular health misinformation because in most cases, we have a repository of doctors' codes, videos, content that can be plugged in and easily floated, or a fact check can easily be created.
Yeah. No, actually, for me as a consumer, of health information. The COVID-19 pandemic was really the first time I ever heard of the word infodemic. And a lot of us got very familiar with the idea of medical misinformation. And so, like you said, you know the word, but you really don't know what it entails, what it can do, and how to tell the difference. So, thank you very much for all that you shared, because I think this has been a very um, both experiential conversation to give a sense of what can happen if you believe this, but also a solution oriented one where at least I would know that if I need help I can go on to Raksha now. Thank you.
Sure,
Thank
sure,
you so
Sonali.
much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Raksha will be my earthquake safety bag, you know.
I'll be
Thanks.
glad
Thank
that
you. I am personally thrilled to discover that doctors are joining social media, because I feel that word of authenticity and accuracy really needs to be amplified. As a kid, I remember this used to happen in an offline space, which was the local general physician. And you'd walk past the clinic, you'd see all these old uncles sitting there having a cup of tea and discussing all their medical worries. And is this tablet good? Is that symptom problematic? And it was a way of dispensing good information and dispelling rumors. And today we don't really go and sit and have tea with our GP anymore, but it is good to know that there are online resources available that can fact check if we are having some sort of doubts about information we are consuming. Have you ever been a victim of online medical misinformation? And what solutions did you find for yourself? You can share your experiences with us on pods@indiatoday.com, or you can message us at 8588 966 996. And if you enjoyed this episode or if it's helped you in any way, please do leave us a rating. We are available on Spotify, Apple, Google, and YouTube.